So hello and welcome to Bitesize Edge with me, Jules Montague. And today I have the very special pleasure of speaking to, well, somebody who I would class as a really good friend of mine. I've known Jude for the last, Jude, has it been about 20 years? I think it has.
Terrifyingly, yes.
I know, it's scary, isn't it? So Jude and I went to drama school together, but things have evolved rather a lot. And how would I introduce Jude? Well, Jude would be an entrepreneur. If there's any title to give someone, it would be that for Jude. She's incredibly creative. She would say that creativity is at her core. She's the creative director of a fabulous company called Bubble and Pop, which we're going to come to discuss in a little while. She's a writer, a storyteller, an award-winning copywriter. She's a coach. She's a mum to two beautiful boys, Ollie and Artie, and an all-round fabulous individual. So, hello, Jude.
Oh, hello, my love. What a fabulous introduction. Makes me
Is that all right? I think that kind of covered everything, I hope.
We've covered everything. Yeah, I do like to wear quite a lot of different hats.
Don't you just? And actually, since I've known you, you've enjoyed wearing many hats. You like the sense of variety and creativity. And as you say,
absolutely. I think it's just how I'm wired. I mean, my mum, bless her, always calls me a butterfly. She says you like flitting from one thing to the next. And I prefer the term multi-potentialite.
I like that. Multi-potentialite.
Multi-potentialite. It's just the most wonderful thing to be when you finally accept that that's what you are.
I love that.
And yeah, it was actually a term that was introduced to me by one of my coaching clients in a group that I was running last year. And she came into the group and we were asking everybody to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about themselves. And she said, "Hi, my name is Zoe and I'm a multi-potentialite." And my ears immediately pricked up. And I was like, this sounds very interesting. Tell me more. And she said, "Well, I've only discovered that I'm a multi-potentialite very recently when I came across this TED talk." And straight away, I knew that she was talking to me and about me. And I went and found the TED talk and I was like, that is 100% me. And a multi-potentialite is somebody who has the potential to do very many different things, and also somebody who needs that variety in their life. And I think for a long time, I felt like there was something that wasn't quite right with me, because I was, not that I find it difficult to focus, but I find it difficult to focus on just one thing. And I love having lots of different things going on at any one time. And that is the true mark of a multi-potentialite. It's sort of what feeds us, what lights us up. And when you accept that about yourself, it's suddenly, you enter a whole new world of excitement and possibility, as opposed to, being down on yourself. Why can't I just focus on one thing? And it's just because simply I don't want to. I want to do lots of different things.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Because I think we almost grow up in a society, and maybe it's changed since we were younger, making us sound really old here. We're not, clearly, but maybe it's changed now that children, teenagers are more encouraged to look at lots of different things, and actually there are way more role models who do just that. Whereas I remember it was a case of going to see the careers advisor. What are you going to be when you leave school?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, but I don't know, there's so many things I love doing. There's so many areas that I want to explore and discover. But it was almost as if they're trying to shoehorn you into one way and one way only. And so, yeah, it's really difficult, isn't it? It's that sense of going, I'm not allowed to do all of these things and have all of this variety in my world, because I'm meant to only be focusing on one career path. And that's rubbish.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I do think it comes down to personality type. And, for example, my husband cannot deal with me at all in that sense. Of course he can deal with me. But, it even kind of plays out in the way that I tidy my house. Like, I'll start in the bedroom and I'll do that for like 5 minutes. And then I'm like, I'm just going to go down to the kitchen now and do a bit in there. And then I'll go into the living room. Whereas Robin is like, with housework and career, he likes to see a very clear path ahead. He likes to know exactly what, you know, lies ahead for him, and he's very good at just focusing on one thing until it's done.
Yeah.
And I just think if that's how you're wired, that's brilliant. But I do think, you know, I think the opportunities for that sort of one streamlined career where you sort of work for the same company until, you know, you retire and you get your clock or whatever it is, they just don't exist anymore. Or if they do, they're very limited. And I think it's really important that we encourage our children and our young people to just be, you know, to be explorers of their own careers, explorers of their own potential. And I think they're going to have to be very flexible, and very, you know, able to sort of change mid-career, and take on, you know, start wearing lots of different hats and take on new challenges, and just be very, very adaptable going forward, because I think that's the way the world is going. So it may be the future is for the multi-potentialite. But I think, you know, fundamentally, for me, it's about staying curious. It's about staying open to possibilities. It's also about honoring who you are at your core, you know? And I think for me, I found, you know, when I was just working as, you know, a copywriter, just working as a writer in an agency, and that's all that I did, I was miserable. I was really, really miserable, because I have all of these other things sort of vying for my attention. You know, I am a storyteller, I am an actress, I am a creative person. I do have this kind of, you know, passion for design. And since embracing all of that, I'm just a much happier, more fulfilled, slightly all over the place still, but more contented person.
Yeah.
And so, and I encourage that in the boys as well, you know. And Ollie says to me a lot, "Mummy, what will I be when I grow up?" And I say, well, you might not know for a long, long time. So just try a little bit of everything, you know.
That's fabulous.
It's
How old is Ollie now?
He is going to be 7 in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
I know. Where's the time gone?
No, it's very scary. It is scary. And that's an interesting point that you make there about that sense of acceptance and embracing. So we are unique, 7 point something billion people in this world, and no two people are the same. And it's really, really important. And that's a message that I give to my 2 girls as strongly as I possibly can. We are all unique individuals. So we all see through our own eyes and nobody else's. And that's fabulous, because that's what makes up this incredible world that we live in. But it's also quite difficult when, especially within education, and we're not going to get diverted into a whole conversation, because I know you have very strong views around it, but just around this whole sense of they go to school, that these are the lessons in a more mainstream situation, because I know Ollie's in a slightly different environment. That whole thing of going, you learn this and you learn this and you learn this, and then you have to choose this, and then you do this. And I'm just thinking, wow, at what point do these individuals get to spread their wings and fly? And I guess for me, that was when I was 18 and just chose to go traveling. That's when I had that opportunity.
I mean, I think everybody comes to their thing, their purpose, the thing that they were put here on the earth to do, which I do believe everybody has, at completely different points. And, you know, you will have some people who are born and they know from the get-go that they absolutely adore animals and they want to take care of animals for the rest of their life, and they go and train to become a vet. You know, for my husband, he didn't find out what he, you know, his real kind of purpose was, or his passion, or his real gift was, until he was in his mid-30s. And I think it's, you know, so often we kind of accidentally fall into careers or jobs that aren't necessarily right for us because they happen to have, you know, come along, or they've been presented, and it's like, well, for lack of anything else to do, I'll do this for the moment. And I think one of the things that I love about the school that Ollie goes to is that it's all about teaching him to be curious, teaching him to have an open mind, teaching him to love learning and to love constantly acquiring information and finding out more about himself and about the world, about other people, and teaching him to think creatively, to think with a creative outlook. And again, I think going into the future that we are facing, creative thinking is going to be so important. And I think that's probably going to be one of the last things that will distinguish human beings from, artificial intelligence.
Gosh, yeah.
Is our ability to see things from a completely different perspective, and from a very unique perspective as well, that hasn't necessarily been programmed. So I'm all for encouraging people at whatever point they get the opportunity in their lives to, I say to my clients, be your own detective, be your own investigator, investigate what lights you up, what makes you feel alive. And don't worry if it takes you a while to find that thing or that number of things. And just stay open. Staying open and having an open heart and an open mind, and just, being comfortable with allowing opportunities to drop into that space. And I think that's a challenging thing to do, because we do live in this very linear, organized society, although you could argue it's not as organized as we might have it think at the moment. But yeah, I do think that way of thinking is going to be even more important in the next, by the time our kids are leaving school. And I hope it's something that, I can continue to nurture.
Fabulous. So we could talk for hours. I know we could, Jude. But one of the things that I really wanted to touch on is your kind of newest project, your newest business, which is Bubble and Pop.
Bubble and Pop.
Yeah, which you are the creative director of. And I'm very, very honoured to actually own one of the products of Bubble and Pop. So tell us a little bit, Jude, about this.
So Bubble and Pop is literally my baby. So when I was pregnant, for the second time, and doing the whole sort of Googling on the interweb to find a new baby bag, I'm someone who, I love color. I love vibrant, bold pattern. I love, really different design. It makes me happy. It makes me smile. I've always had brightly colored handbags. And I couldn't really find anything that really tickled my fancy. And I just thought, if I'm going to spend a decent amount of money on something that's going to be with me every single day, when I'm out and about with baby, then I need to really love, my baby bag. It was kind of, and also it's, it's going to be an extension of your personality, the way that your handbag is. And the other thing that I was looking for was a bag that would help me stay organized, because one of the flip sides of being a multi-potentialite, creative scatty person is that I'm chronically disorganized. And add that to baby brain and no sleep and, exhaustion. And, I would frequently leave the house when Ollie was born without like the really basic things like nappies and wipes. And I remember going to a business meeting when he was tiny, and going into this lady's office, and she was very accommodating to the fact that I had a baby. And of course, he'd done one of those spectacular poos that went all over his back.
Yeah.
And I didn't have wet wipes. I think I had one nappy and I didn't have wet wipes. So the two of us were there like with toilet paper trying to clean him up. And I just thought, this is not good. So Robin, my husband, came up with the idea. He said, what you need is a bag that you can kind of set up in a system, and you look in the bag and straight away if something is missing. And he said, you need to have like little labels on your bags, that you can change around then as the baby grows. And being the kind of, person that I am, I said, well, I'm just going to make my own. And I decided,
because that's what we would all think. Yeah. I'm just going to make
I'm going to make my own. And that was really the beginning of the process. And it was really one of those moments when I just thought, if I'm thinking this way, there have to be other women, who are as sort of slightly scatty and baby brained as I am. And also, sort of having spent like half an hour, 40 minutes or whatever, trawling through Google for baby bags, I was just so over navy and grey and baby pink and stripes. And I just thought, where's the fun? Where's the colour? So fast forward, I started working with a brilliant designer And I basically went and I gave her like a terrible drawing that I had done. And I said, this is what I want my bag to look like. And she came up with a stunning design for us. I had a wonderful school friend called Sue, who is a brilliant designer and illustrator. And I asked her to make, to start working on the first pattern for us, because we wanted to have bespoke patterns. We didn't want to buy material off the shelf. And that was kind of the beginning. And I just kept sort of going to the next stage. So once we had the design ready, then it was, okay, now I need to find a sample maker. Once we had the sample, then it was, now I need to find fabric, I need to find a supplier, I need to find a factory, and a whole world opened up that I had absolutely no experience of. And if I'd actually taken a step back and sort of thought about what I was really doing and getting into, I probably would have been completely overwhelmed and gone, this is a terrible idea, just stop now. But, I've heard a lot of entrepreneurs say, if you knew what you were getting into at the beginning, you'd probably run from the hills.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the hills, rather. But I've always just taken that approach. Just keep on taking the next step. Just see what presents itself, once you've kind of completed this stage. And I've had a great business partner to work with, my cousin Rachel, who's the very organized half of the business. And I've just really loved the whole process, Jules. It's sort of ticked all the boxes for me in terms of, it's exciting, there's a little bit unknown. I love the idea of building a brand. I love design, I love color. And I've just really, really enjoyed working with independent designers, surface pattern designers that we found on Instagram, reaching out and saying, oh, I saw this beautiful pattern you've done on Instagram, would you be interested in licensing it? And I've made some really lovely connections that way. And then obviously when you make your first sale, it's the most exciting thing on the planet.
I can imagine.
And just sort of, getting to that stage whereby it's gone from an idea in your head, literally, to, your living room is filled with boxes that have just arrived on a pallet, and now you've got to sort through them all and do your quality check, and here's your product. You're actually holding your product, and it's kind of, it's too easy to sort of, or it's sometimes too easy just to focus on what you haven't done and what needs to be done and what the next step is. And I think it's important in anything like this that you just kind of sit with what you've achieved for a few minutes and just go, wow, I did that. And then, getting out and about at shows and trade shows, what have you, and meeting your customers and hearing the feedback, and seeing comments on, Instagram or whatever it is about, from people who have bought and then just tagged you, and sort of, my beautiful baby bag has arrived. I mean, it's wonderful. It's really wonderful. And it gives you a sense of achievement in so many different ways. And also, I think for me, I've never wanted to be someone who was dependent on someone else for my own success, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like to have agency over my own life and my own decisions and my own creativity. And it's given me all of those things. And, there have been tears. Absolutely, there have been tears. Dealing with, Chinese import and export and documentation and paperwork has, sent me into a spin on a couple of occasions. But it really sort of fires me up. When you've got, you've done something right, and that you've hit the mark with your design and the feedback is good. So now it's just a case of trusting that the product is there, continuing to just take it step by step, and just seeing where it goes. And I dream big in everything that I do, and I have lots of exciting plans for it. So it's just, continue to nurture the baby, and who knows where we'll be in 5 years' time. Hopefully in all the boutiques around the world that sell gorgeous baby things.
I'm sure you will be. I know your determination. I know your grit. I know your focus. I know all of that about you. So I have absolutely no doubt it will, Jude. And just on that point of, wanting it to be here, there and everywhere, am I right in thinking one of your bags was featured recently in Vogue?
It was, and
that's pretty special.
So that was so exciting. And it's one of the funny things about Instagram. I struggle a little bit with the whole social media thing because I'm not a social media native as such.
Yes.
And sometimes it can feel as though you're kind of putting content and stuff out into the vortex and going, is anybody really seeing this? Is anybody really paying attention? But I have to say, Instagram has been instrumental for us. And anytime somebody, sends an email and, is kind of interested in the brand, or, wants us to feature in a magazine or a trade show, and I say, oh, where did you find us? They will always say Instagram. And that's where Vogue found us.
They found you on Instagram.
They found us on Instagram, yeah. So they were putting a feature together called the Kids Collection. So obviously they went onto Instagram and just did their hashtag research and hashtag searches, and we came up. And they got in touch and said, we love your bag, we love your brand. We love the fact that it's bold, it's bright, it's fun, it's colourful, and it's something a little bit different in the baby bag sort of arena, if you like. And I said, we'd love to feature you. So that was a real sort of mark of how far we'd come in a very short space of time, because we only launched in July, and they contacted us, I think, just before Christmas.
That's incredible.
And it's funny, things can happen so quickly. And one of the things that Robin says to me is, when you're building a business and you're sort of doing all the things that you feel like you should be doing, and you're sticking to your marketing plan, and you're kind of plugging away, it's like kind of trying to light a fire with flint. You're kind of like sparking, and you just never know when that little spark is going to burst into a flame.
Yeah.
So that's the early stages of building a business, building a brand, is you're constantly just there with your stones, rubbing them together.
That's a really
and trusting. And trusting that something will spark into flame. So we're still rubbing the flints together, but enjoying it. And I think that's one of the key things. If you don't absolutely love what you're doing, love your product, love the process, it's never going to happen, because it's so difficult, and there are challenges. There are lots of challenges, and you have to see to the future and see what the potential is and what your brand or your business can be, to get you over those very difficult days when you just think, what on earth was I thinking? I think, whatever your business is, there will probably be days you'll have like that.
Absolutely. And so we've talked about Instagram. Bubble and Pop, is that what we look for on Instagram?
Yes, you'll find us at Bubble and Pop UK.
Bubble and Pop UK.
Okay. Bubble and Pop UK. Yeah.
And do you have Facebook? Have you got a Facebook page?
We do have Facebook. Yeah, it's the same, Bubble and Pop UK on Facebook.
And the website, I'm guessing, is the same?
Yeah, bubbleandpop.co.uk. Funnily enough, Facebook is great for it's a great advertising platform. So we've certainly used Facebook for brand awareness. But Instagram seems to be where most of our mums and our customers are finding us.
Yeah, things are shifting, aren't they?
So it's
substantially.
Yeah, and I think it's, we are a very visual brand, and Instagram is just perfect for that. It's perfect when you have, the opportunity to do really fun, colourful, bright stuff. Instagram loves that. Instagram loves colour.
So that's Bubble and Pop, and just bringing this to an end, because I don't want to, Jude, but apparently I have to, because we have to keep within a certain amount of time. Because we could keep going for hours. So that's kind of your Bubble and Pop. We've also talked very briefly about the fact that you are a coach. If people are interested in knowing more about your coaching and working with you, how can they find out information about that?
Absolutely. Just pop onto my website, which is at coachforcreatives.com. And I work with all kinds of creative people, from writers to DJs to producers, actors, directors, creative entrepreneurs. And I just love working with people who have creativity at their heart and soul, and helping them to sort of step out of their own way, step into the spotlight is what I call it. And realize that, as a creative person, this is your soul food. And I think very often, particularly for mothers, it's you try and sort of squeeze your creativity in around all the other things that you feel obliged to do.
Gosh,
whereas I really encourage my clients to, you know, see your creativity as a non-negotiable, because it makes you a happier person, a better mother, a better partner, a better everything. It's, you know, it's an essential vitamin for your mental, emotional and spiritual well-being.
Fabulous. Oh, Jude, thank you so much for taking the time out to chat to me today.
You're so welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure. We could talk for another 3 or 4 hours.
No, I'm gonna hit the stop record, and then we can have another natter. So thank you so much for today. And I will hopefully see you very soon.
My pleasure, Jules. It's great to speak to you.
Bye-bye.
Take care, love. Bye.